welcome back to my channel, Beautiful Minutia. If you're new here, my name is Tiffany, and today I'm going to share with you my TBR for the month of July. July is an exciting month because we have multiple read-alongs happening, but the one that I am the most excited about is Ktropeathon. I'm going to link my announcement video so you can check that out if you haven't seen it yet, but Ktropeathon is a readathon created by my dear friend Christy Lewis from Dostoevsky in Space, and I am joining her as a co-host, as is Yoon from Dr. Yoon. So that's so exciting that we're doing this for the second year in a row. This readathon is to celebrate all things Korean, but especially Korean entertainment. As such, the prompts are based on tropes that you would find in Korean entertainment, such as K-pop or K-dramas. And really, all you have to do to participate is to just enjoy something Korean. But we do have some prompts to help you out, as well as a group read. So the group read is Welcome to Hyunondam Bookshop, which I am so excited to read. I have heard that it's super cozy, and I know some people who have already read it or have started it early, and they're enjoying it so much so far. So I'm really hoping that I will as well. But we are going to have a group discussion for that live on Christy's channel, in addition to being able to chat about it on my Discord as well if you'd like. We also have a We Love Jenny prompt to continue remembering our dear friend Jennifer Brooks. And the prompt for that is just something that Jenny interested you in that is Korean. So actually what I'm choosing for this, I think this is kind of loose because I have a lot of Korean books I'd like to read, so I'm not exactly sure where I'm gonna land on it yet. But I think what I might read for this is I Want to Eat Your Pancreas, which I don't even know if that's actually a Korean author or if it's Japanese. I'm not really sure, but it was a book that Mingi from ATEEZ really loved, and Mingi was Jenny's bias. So I really kind of want to read that, and I've heard wonderful things about it. I think it's a manga, but I haven't done a lot of research, so I guess I'm not totally sure, but I really want to read that, and especially because I have really been loving ATEEZ lately. So I think that's what I'm gonna read for that one, but we'll see. Then another prompt is Come Back. And this is an author that you have loved something by and you're reading something else by them. It could be a new release, but it doesn't have to be. So I'm kind of debating for this one. I feel like I might read Familiar Things. I can't remember who wrote it now, and it's gonna bother me, but I'm gonna have it on the screen so you should be able to see it. But last year during Ktropeathon, I read Princess Bari by the same author and loved it. It was my favorite Korean thing that I read, and one of my favorite things I read in general last year. I don't think it made it into my top books because I think I did like the top 12 or something like that, but it was for sure in the top 20 of the books that I read last year. I just loved it. And the last prompt is a time jump. So this is a K-drama prompt. This feels like every K-drama I've ever watched has a time jump, either where someone ends up jumping and you see a jump in the future where all of a sudden 3 years have gone by or something crazy like that. But we're also allowing anything that might involve time manipulation or time travel. So you could be reading something that is in a historical setting or whatever. So I have multiple options for this, but I think what I might choose is I have this book that my friend Dia sent me probably like a year ago, and I didn't get to it last Ktropeathon, so I'm gonna try to read it this year, and that's 100 Shadows. So this does take place in Seoul, but it has some magical realism and it's speculative fiction, so I think it has a futuristic feel. I don't know if it actually takes place in the future though. So I don't know if that's actually gonna work or not, but then I have this other book that I found at McKay's, I think, and it's The Poet. And this is not, I don't know if it qualifies as like classic literature for Korea because it was written, I want to say in like the 70s or 80s. Totally lied. It was written in the 90s, but I know that this is a book that is commonly read in like high school or college settings and is a really well-known Korean work of literature. So this does take place in the past, so I could read this one. The other Korean book that I own that I found while thrifting is The Good Son, and this is a thriller. So I don't know where I could squeeze this in, if I'm gonna squeeze it in, but I'm throwing this on the list just because I really want to read it, along with Banned Book Club by Ryan Estrada, which I think Ryan actually illustrated this. I don't know if he also wrote it. It's his wife's story. It takes place during the 80s in South Korea when there was a lot of restricted literature at the time. And so I think it's her and other either high school or college students that have a banned book club where they're reading these books that they're not really allowed to be reading. I could also include this for the time jump prompt because it takes place in the 80s, which wasn't that long ago, but I mean, it was still, you know, it's not right now. So that's another option. And Christy is actually doing an interview with Ryan Estrada on her channel next month. So check out our schedule of all the events that are happening if you're interested in being able to be a part of that live discussion and present your questions to Ryan as well. I think it's going to be an amazing live show. Okay, let's move on to some other books that I am planning to read in the month of July. So if you haven't already seen my announcement for this, also I am hosting a read along of all of the Mistborn novels, and we will be finishing the first original Mistborn trilogy in July with The Hero of Ages. It's really interesting. This is kind of an unpopular opinion. I didn't love this book when I first read it. It was probably 3.5, 4 years ago that I read this, and I didn't love how the series concluded. Going through it this time, I can see the little threads and I already know where Sanderson's going with it. So I'm kind of curious how I'm gonna feel about it. But if you're like me and you have read Era 1, but you haven't read Era 2, we will be starting Era 2 in August. So if you didn't join us for the original trilogy, but you want to hop on Era 2, there's still plenty of time for you to do that. As if one Sanderson book wasn't enough, I'm also going to be rereading Skyward, and I'm reading this with my in-person book club. So the way that we ended up choosing our books is we kind of chose some genres and then brought different options for people to choose what they might like. So we thought maybe we'd read a sci-fi this summer, and Skyward was the one that everyone wanted to read. So I have read this before. I think I read it the summer that I moved here, actually, and I read Skyward and Starsight. I really enjoyed Skyward. I didn't love Starsight. And then too much time passed in between Starsight and Cytonic. So I'm hoping that I can continue on with the series because I have all 4 books plus a bind up of all the novellas as well. So I would like to read them at some point, and I'm hoping that maybe not as much time will go by in between this time and maybe I can continue on, but we'll just see how that goes. I have also been reading this summer The Tale of Genji, and we'll be continuing this into July because we're about at the halfway point at the end of June. So we will be continuing on with this and reading it through like the beginning of August, I think. I can't remember exactly when we finish, but I'll link my announcement video for that as well. So that way you can find that if you're interested in jumping in with us. We have a schedule of what we're reading when, because we're having live shows on Naomi's channel every other week. That's going to be interesting to continue on with this. I kind of have mixed feelings about it, honestly, at the time of filming this. I'm really not sure how I feel about it. But the discussions have been wonderful. For my Patreon, we are having a group read in the month of July as well, and we're going to be reading 9 Coaches Waiting by Mary Stewart. I know absolutely nothing about this book at all. I had some help in suggesting books for this month. Other times I've selected the books and had people vote or just announce what we were reading. And this time when we did some reading sprints for my Patreon, I had 3 patrons on there who suggested different books, and I put those books in a poll, and this is the one that won. So I know that this is a mystery, and I can't remember exactly when it was written. I want to say it was like 50s maybe, and it says on Goodreads, like some of the classifications for it are mystery, thriller, and gothic. So I'm kind of feeling like maybe this might have a Daphne du Maurier vibe to it because that was written, or she wrote around the same time period, and she definitely has a very gothic thriller-esque feel to it. I tend to like classic thrillers a lot more than I like modern thrillers. So I'm really excited to read this one. I don't think it's like a whodunit in the way that Agatha Christie typically is. So I've never read anything by Mary Stewart at all. So I'm really excited. I will also hopefully be reading The Trial by Kafka this month. I was supposed to read it last month with Christy and Stephanie, and I did not even start it but neither did they. So I'm making a company, so we're pushing this to July, and hopefully we'll actually read it in July. We'll see. It'll be my first Kafka. I've been told that this is not the best place to start with Kafka, but if I struggle with this one, I'm still gonna go back and give Metamorphosis a try, because that's where most people tell you to start with Kafka. So we'll see. This is just one that neither Christy nor Stephanie has read. They both read Metamorphosis and wanted to read more by him, so I'm just along for the ride. And then for my classic of the month, for my classic TBR this year, I scheduled just one book a month. I already pre-chosen which ones I was going to do, which months. So that way, if anyone wanted to jump in and read them with me, they were more than welcome to. So this month's book is The Secret Agent by Joseph Conrad. And I'm really looking forward to reading this one. I read 2 Conrads last year, and it was the first I had ever read by him. So I read Heart of Darkness with my Patreon early on in the year. And then in May, I read The Shadow Line with Dia and Sandy. And I really, really enjoyed both of them. I love Conrad's writing, and I love kind of some of the themes that he explores, even though they're darker and more serious. And I don't exactly know how The Secret Agent is going to go, because I do know it is kind of, you know, about espionage. So I don't know exactly if there's any other like points he's trying to make with it, because in The Shadow Line, he for sure was, because it's about, you know, the shadow line that divides adolescence from adulthood and crossing over that line into adulthood. And then obviously Heart of Darkness has a lot of themes. So especially colonization and slavery and all of that kind of stuff. So I'm kind of curious to see if this is like that, or if this is just more of a fun book. I don't know a ton about it, but my friend Christy read this and loved it. So I'm really, really excited to give this one a try. In addition to all this, there's also Jane Austen July, and I'm not really sure whether or not I can squeeze in a book for this or not. I always read a Jane Austen in Jane Austen July, but I did also read Jane Austen in April, so I won't be feeling like I haven't read any Austen if I don't get to anything. I would like to get to Lady Susan. That's kind of my pick. I'm not a huge epistolary person, so I'm already bracing myself for that. So for those of you who are like, oh no, Lady Susan, she doesn't like epistolary novels, it's okay. I already know, and I'm going into it with that in mind. So I don't know if I've read Lady Susan. I might have a really long time ago, but I don't really remember anything about it other than that Lady Susan is not a very likable character. So we'll see if I end up getting to this one or not, because as you can see, my list of kind of like obligations or books that I would love to read is really, really long. So I don't know whether or not I'm going to get to it. Well, those are my plans for July. I have a lot of plans and I'm really excited about all of them. So I really hope that I'm able to actually read all of the books that I want to read. I have some very grandiose plans, and I feel like I'm forgetting things. So if I was supposed to read a book with you in July and I didn't mention it, please let me know in the comments so I can kind of figure that out. I am filming this very shortly after coming home from vacation, so my brain is quite tired, and as a result I have a list of all the books that I'm going to be reading, but I didn't plug in where they're going to go on my bingo board in terms of like my notes for this video. So you'll find out at the end of July where these books end up fitting in, because I'm not really sure yet. I'd love to hear what you're reading in the month of July. I'm sure you have lots of plans as well, because there's always so many fun things happening during the summer. So let me know what readathons you're participating in. Let me know what you are the most excited to read. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please hit like and also subscribe so you can continue to see more bookish content from me, and I will see you again next time.